Let's get unhinged.
Let's get unhinged.
Cheers.
Welcome back, everyone. I am excited because I think this will be the second week in a row that I have an episode.
Wow.
I really suck at this.
No, you don't.
I'm doing my best, but you know, I am clearly not alone. I'm back. I've been actually good though. All my most recent episodes, actually all episodes in 2023 have had guests, which I don't really know what the audience prefers, but I generally think it's more fun with two people. So
yeah.
And I think it's more fun to listen to.
Yeah. I like listening to a guest.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm super excited. Actually, you are my very first return guest of the podcast. First two times.
I mean, who else could it actually be?
I know. So welcome back, loyal listeners. Kara Goss to my podcast.
So excited.
And you new listeners, this is my everything. I don't know.
This is my everything.
This is my everything.
Other podcast host, best friend,
bestie,
partner in crime, confidant.
We used to be like biz pals,
health and fitness pals, like, all the things.
Fellow new capital letter Swiftie.
Yep, capital letter Swiftie, coming off the Eras Tour.
Coming off the Eras Tour, yes. So we were recording this. We had to do this episode together because the last time we were together, we did the first episode. She was visiting me in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And this time I'm here with her in Pittsburgh. So we do not have our lovely producer Caleb here, unfortunately.
We're doing a Zoom interview, baby.
We miss you, Lebby. But
we do miss you, Lebby Lou.
But we are just doing it live here with this. Zoom camera
situation.
We'll do
it live.
Okay, we're doing it live with this Zoom situation. So actually it's working pretty well though. If you guys are watching this on Instagram,
I feel so weird like watching myself.
I know it is
Zoom
it is weird to watch.
I'm like,
it's hard not to just like stare at yourself.
I'm sorry for anybody watching this on YouTube. We're like staring into your soul right now.
Yeah, like I feel like we need to like, look at each other. But I don't really know. You can tell we're content creators because it's impossible not to be like,
like, how do we look?
That's the cut I'm gonna use.
Yes, absolutely.
No, it is kind of weird because I guess whenever I do it with Caleb, I don't see the video the whole time.
Right. And so, I feel like that makes you less distracted.
Yeah, it does.
As to, because whenever we did it the first time, which our YouTube still never got.
This is actually the first time you guys are gonna see Kara.
Yeah, see me on YouTube because we got a whole YouTube video.
Okay, to be fair, that's your fault.
Okay, yeah, that is my fault. But because it was hard to like.
Kara has anxiety and some things that she talked about on the podcast she didn't want to keep in there, but she told us this after the fact. And so Caleb, so anyone who doesn't know how podcasting works with video, producer Caleb video records the podcast episode, but we audio record on the Zoom using the mic. So we have good quality audio, not the camera audio. So he has to go in his main thing that he does for me. He runs the camera, obviously, but then he takes the audio and overlays it to match up with the video. So he has to go through and cut the audio correctly and then overlay it, obviously. And so this was also before I was staying with him too. So it was like a hard, just like time for us to be able to get together, and him and I both just be traveling all the time. So it just, for him to be able to have the guidance of like what all I cut and everything, it was just, I had already like cut the audio, and normally he takes the raw audio and does it himself. Right. But like, it was just a lot to have to like do for him. And I just like didn't want him to have to do it. Maybe one day it'll still get on there. I kind of hope it does. I hope he still has the file. I think he told me he does.
Yeah.
But one day we'll put it on there. One day. Be like ages from now, like episode 9 in the middle.
10 years from now, episode 9 in the middle of like 250.
Yeah, honestly, we looked really cute. Though.
We did.
We really tried for that one.
I know.
More than today.
But like, this is the best you're gonna get today.
Because this is also the first morning podcast I've ever done.
Yes. Yeah. I said, hey, I mean, we're doing it early, bright and early, rise and shine, baby. Here we are.
Yeah, normally it's like my day has been going already.
Yeah.
Caleb and I's episode. This is actually though the extreme on the other end, because normally I'm like, we do like afternoon, early evening. I've done some like Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
But Caleb and I did his episode at 11 p.m.
Love that. I would honestly expect nothing
That's what
less.
I said. I was like, this makes sense for us. But we had to like fuck with all the, honestly, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I loved you guys' episode.
It was so good. It was so long. We could not.
It was so long.
Actually, my last few episodes have been very long.
Yeah.
But you know what? Y'all don't have to listen. So this is for me.
Listen, it's entertainment at its peak.
It is. But yes, I'm here With Kara, I leave actually later today. That's why part of why we're doing it in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm really sad.
I'm glad that you got a later flight though.
Me too.
Sure.
I figured also, I just remembered how far you were. And I think I left in the morning last time and it was just, it was a lot.
We got up at like 3 a.m. I think to take you to the airport.
I just, unless the price makes that huge of a difference, I just don't do that kind of flights if I can avoid it.
I don't blame you.
Unless it's like my only but what sucks is a lot of places, the price points that are the same are usually that like 5 a.m. flight or like a 10 p.m. flight.
Right.
It's just like, oh my God. But this one was actually not bad. It's like, I leave at like 8 o'clock tonight.
Yeah. And we get a full day of togetherness and work and everything. So it worked out.
Yeah. Cause honestly, we've been busy.
We have been super busy.
This went really fast and I almost wasn't sure when we would get to do this. So morning it is.
I know. Thank God. Thank God we got an opportunity.
Sipping coffee like I'm on a late night show.
Sipping my Alani. We love.
How many times are we going to cheers?
How many times can we cheers? Nobody knows. I am tired though. I'm not going to lie.
I'm tired.
But I've been sleeping like a rock.
Yeah, Kara tells me the other day, she goes, I really just feel like I sleep well whenever you're next to me.
I do. And even whenever I go to like Austin and stay with you or Nashville, like whenever I stayed with you for 2.5 weeks in Nashville, literally slept so well that whole time there. And I normally do sleep well, but like, I don't know, it's just different. I told Kylie, because we were joking, I was like, you just have a comforting presence. She's like, I don't think I have a very calming presence. Not calming, but comforting to me.
Yeah, I was like,
there's comfort in the chaos. Okay.
Much like our girl Shannon Ford. I don't think anyone has ever been like, you're just a very calm person.
Yes. But
the drama.
I
will say, I mean, I've definitely still been this way, but the last time I was here, you heard that I was unwell way more times.
That is actually true. You have probably only said I'm unwell like twice this whole entire time. The last time that Kylie stayed with me in Indiana was after the MGK concert, and literally every single day we would wake up, I'm unwell.
I was also
like within really the first 5 minutes you were going through it.
I'm like wildly happier now.
Wildly happier. Life has done a complete 180 and we're so happy about it.
Yeah,
so.
Which is crazy that actually was like
not even a year ago.
Almost though.
But it was almost, like, August 13th was the MGK concert.
You would know that.
So I would know that. Enneagram 1 type ass. Enneagram 1 have an ass.
Yeah, Kara is the most Enneagram 1 that ever Enneagram 1.
Let me just tell you, we bought like this is a prime example of my Enneagram 1 style. We bought 100 balloons for the 100th episode of our other podcast, and I bought 2 packs in case the one popped. And Kylie was like, never would have thought of that.
I never would have done that. Never in a million years.
That's me being prepared.
It would have been shocking that I even ordered the whole set correctly.
Truly.
Honestly.
Truly.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened. I used to be a lot more like that. I don't know what happened. Trauma, I think.
Honestly, there's a lot of trauma, a lot of CPTSD.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's that.
Yeah, for sure. So, but I mean, hey, we're rolling with the punches, baby.
We kept talking about all the issues that happened from that this weekend because we were with our friend Risa for the Taylor Swift concert. Which did we even get there yet? We went to Eras.
Well, we will get there.
We'll get there. That's why we were planned this trip.
Yeah.
But our friend Risa was with us and she just had a baby and she was talking about how much that's affected her memory.
Yeah.
And I was like, my memory's been shit for like the last year and a half from like my CPTSD stuff. So basically all weekend it was just me and Risa like wandering ducklings and Kara being like, this is what we're doing.
This is what we're doing. This is where we're going. So funny.
Like at any given minute, me and Risa are like, where are we? No, it wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't. We really made it through. Honestly, like the weekend went off without a hitch, truly.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there were so many points of like a concert weekend where it could go wrong. It could be stressful. But like we did Eras weekend right. We got in early. We got in 2 days before the concert. We literally treated the day of the show like prom. Like we were literally up at 8 a.m. doing our hair, doing our makeup, making content, TikToks, like got down there early. The content was fire. Listen, if any of you have not been to any of our TikToks, go watch the Eras Tour content because it honestly, is premium. We
worked very hard. We really committed to one of my TikToks and I'm so happy it did get a lot of views.
It did wonderfully. I heavily committed to one of mine. I started days before.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That one was even more commitment than mine.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a great time. Oh my God.
It was. I do feel like, especially like even just with like our eating situation before, like everything that could have been so stressful, we just like figured it out so quickly and it like worked out.
Yes.
And, yeah, it was so helpful. I do feel like Chelsea and I's day was more stressful, but I think a lot of that I think it would have been totally different if it would have been the scenario we had where we were like staying downtown. Because Chelsea lives about like 35 minutes outside Nashville with traffic.
Yeah.
And so like we had to drive in and park, and then we didn't have somewhere we could like which like we went out for the day once we were out, but also it was like way hotter, and then we had to walk like really far. Like, you know, there was a lot of other factors. Like her and I had an incredible fucking time. But like there was just the daytime stuff. Like we just I think too, there was so much stuff going on in Nashville that weekend.
Oh my God. Like, because it was like Vanderbilt's graduation, and then who was in town?
Janet Jackson. There was like
Janet Jackson was
I think there was like 3 different graduations.
It was like Nashville graduation.
So it was like
that's already
Pittsburgh
unhinged.
Was swamped with like just Swifties, which is already a lot. But it was like just that area mostly. Like you could kind of like get out of it a little bit. Like even just leaving there looked a little more tame, believe it or not, than Nashville, because there was just so much going on. There was also 3 nights of Nashville. So it was just the whole weekend. Like I actually had a worse time. Me and my friends went out the day after the Nashville show.
Oh damn.
Like all day I was like waiting to try to get tickets again. And didn't. And so I was like sitting at a bar across the river. The way we were watching, I was across the river in Nashville with my friend Crystal, like watching the stadium lights, still trying to look up tickets.
Dang.
And it didn't happen. Probably good for my bank. But we went, like I ended up going out with like her and Katie, and we actually that was like the worst night I had as far as like logistics of stuff. Like we didn't get home till like 4 a.m. because and bars were closing at 2, but like we were out in like further away too. Like we were like kind of in East Nashville, I think, or we were over like past Midtown for anyone who's familiar. Like it was not like right in Broadway area, and it was like 40 minutes to get an Uber.
Dude,
it was awful. Like, and I was like, I'm not even at the concert, and I'm suffering because that one got delayed so much too. So her concert didn't let out till 1:30.
Yes.
So I was like, fuck. Like we just timed it poorly because I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I will say, like, I mean, we stayed right downtown. We were in. I mean, it was a 30-minute walk from the stadium, so it wasn't terrible. We walked home. I mean, we did it right, baby. We ordered pizza. It came within like 35 minutes. It slapped. Like it was great. So we planned it really well. And I mean, also just being able to. So we on Friday night we had gone and gotten dinner with our girl Aubrey, shout out to Aubs, and we all went to this fun Mexican place, had a few drinks, dinner, everything like that, and it was really fun. And then Aubrey's dad and boyfriend were like, oh my gosh, we're down here at the Point. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Pittsburgh area, there is this place called the Point where like all of the rivers meet to, I think it's to create the Ohio River, maybe. Don't ask me. I'm terrible, not a geography girly at all. We learned that this weekend with me trying to navigate directions. Okay.
So bad at directions.
So bad. So bad. And okay, in my defense, like Apple Maps, whenever you're walking, they do not pick up your location.
Yes, but I'm bad in general.
Yeah. So we went down to the Point, and like the Point right across the river is Acrisure Stadium. And you can literally hear everything. I mean, the sound's carrying across the water. So we literally pre-gamed the Eras Tour with the Eras Tour, went and pretty much watched like the entire show up until their surprise songs the night before our actual show, which was just like an incredible experience overall. So like that even just made it more special.
Yeah.
So, oh my God. And just being able to like the concert itself, being able to experience that with you, a true Swiftie, and like being able to see you in your element. And like now, I mean, even Risa said, like you said, like there were so many points in the concert where Risa was leaning over to you and she was like, I get it now. Like being in this, like
understanding why I go to so many shows.
Yes. And it's just like the vibe of the concert was like, it was just like immaculate, like electric. Like, it's just like, there was nothing else like it. We were very emotional, and yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah. Which we talked about all this on our podcast, on Quick Fix this week as well.
Yeah.
But like, it was so cool for me to get to, because it was Kara and Risa's first time going. And so to get to see them like experience it, like knowing how excited they were, and like to just watch them, especially since I had already been, I still was like watching the show the whole time, but I could just like also be present and like you guys' reactions and stuff. And it was really cool. And I definitely cried a lot.
Yeah, literally. Okay. So I started crying as soon as she comes out, because also Miss Americana is like one of those chill songs for me that always gets me. But then Lover comes on, and
all of us
we all just start bawling, and we're all just like, what? We're crying right now. Oh my God. It was so funny. And like people around us are probably like, I mean, Lover definitely is it's a more emotional song, I would say, but it's also like a happy song too. You know what I mean? But it's just like, not anymore. Oh,
girly be dissociated.
Oh, she really is dissociating. But
Joe Allen, I am in your walls.
So true. So true. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it was just such an incredible experience overall, and like truly nothing like it. I feel like I'm still coming down off of high. Honestly, I feel like that's why I'm so tired this week.
Yeah.
Like I literally feel like the amount of just like endorphins and adrenaline and like just like serotonin and dopamine, like it's gone like all week, like for how many months, like since November we've been waiting for this. And it's like I've been seeing so many TikToks that are like, how do you cope whenever the one thing that you've been waiting for literally over half a year is now gone? Like it's tough. But for those of you who don't know, Kylie and I, and maybe Risa too, will be going to Germany in 2024.
Well, somewhere in Europe.
Somewhere in Europe to see the international date.
Honestly, that gives me a year's my life together.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm putting this out there.
What is happening?
Damn, Kylie's really spilling on herself. Kylie's having a rough.
If you're watching this, it looks like my breast is.
It looks like your breast milk just coming on out.
They do look like some milkers right now.
Kylie's, your tits look great right now, by the way.
Wow.
Love that. Anyways. Kylie's been having a little bit of a rough time earlier. For those of you who aren't on our close friends story.
Okay.
Let me just tell the story. Why? Can I not share it? We'll cut it out if we need to.
Okay, I've developed a vaping habit. This is my intervention.
Yeah, she's developed a vaping habit.
I've been trying to keep it a secret.
She's had two this bitch is double fisting vapes right now, okay? Like watermelon wave and some other shit. Okay. But they honestly are really pretty. Like I get just like wanting to have one because it has like an ombre like texture to it and it's really pretty. Nice. But it's really nice. It's nice. But so
I stopped dating men that are like cigarettes, so I had to pick up an actual.
So you had to exactly. And so I'm sitting here like 2 days ago working, and I just hear Kylie take a really deep, shaky breath, and she puts her head down on her hand. She's like, and I turn around and I'm like, "Are you okay?" I thought she was crying. I was like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Oh no, I just can't breathe." I just can't breathe. I think I'm vaping too much. I'm sitting over here chain smoking. And I'm like crying. I have like tears in my eyes. I'm like, I'm good. I just can't breathe. Kylie, we have to kick this habit.
I know.
Truly.
And then I accidentally picked up my AirPods.
Oh yeah. And then yes,
earlier in the day.
This is when you know there's a problem. Bitch takes her literal air. I have it in my hands right now.
If you're watching, this is like
If you're watching on YouTube, they do look similar. But she literally picks up her AirPods case, puts it to her lips, and tries to vape from it. I'm like, girl, are we okay?
I gotta get it together, you guys. This is my intervention.
You honestly do, because vaping is so bad for you. I'm here to tell you. She needs to stop. Everybody on here, DM her, tell her she needs to stop. I can't lose you at a young age.
I think we should move on from this topic.
Okay. Oh my God, my knee is so ugly. Jesus Christ. There's going to be so many things in this podcast that's only going to be context dependent on the YouTube video. But for those of y'all who are only listening on podcast, I just put my knee up to like hug it. And let me tell you how ugly it looks in this
Knees are ugly.
Knees are ugly in general.
Knees and feet, I think, are so gross.
Knees are gross. Yeah.
Anyways, no free knees.
No free knees.
I'll censor it. You can get that OnlyFans.
Yeah.
If you want to see Kara's knees, you owe us $9.99.
That's amazing. My pale knees.
Yeah. So we were also here this week. This just lined up for us. We were here because our podcast, the Not Your Quick Fuck. Wow.
Not Your Quick Fuck podcast.
New name.
We ever start our own podcast as a spinoff just for life things, it should be Not Your Quick Fuck.
Not Your Quick Fuck. Honestly, we are not your quick fuck.
We are not your quick fuck. I mean, I'm a quick fuck now to my boyfriend, but
why?
Sometimes you gotta be
busy.
You're
a busy person.
It's not okay. That sounded terrible. It's not always quick, but like sometimes you need a quickie, and sometimes quickies are great.
Yeah, true. That's why. So the other day this week, literally, I was telling Kara that I was like, what are we? So like our podcast, actually, I don't think Shannon has a name for her podcast listeners, but like the Toast has the Toasters, Giggly Squad has the Gigglers.
Yes.
And so I was like, what would our fans be called? And I was like, and I was like, the Quickies.
The Quickies.
And I was like,
the Fixers.
No, the Fixers. I was like,
no. What would your fans be called on these? On this?
I don't know. I feel like it would just be something with Unhinged.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Off the hingers.
Off the hingers, no. I don't have enough fans for that yet.
We'll figure it out. Hey, you have some pretty loyal listeners.
I do. Here. I get some pretty good listens. Honestly, my listens are fairly on par with our listens for Not Your Quick Fix.
Love that.
Which is pretty crazy.
That's amazing, especially because Not Your Quick Fix has been going for
like 2 years.
Over 2 years. Yeah. That's
People
amazing.
love to hear drama.
People love the life. People love the relationship, drama, sex, dating, all that kind of stuff.
I got plenty of it.
You know?
So
it is what it is.
Anyways, the whole reason that was brought up is we are also timed up with this trip to be recording our 100th episode of Not Your Quick Fix.
Which is so crazy. Our timing is always impeccable. Like
first of all, we're always together at the same times of the year.
We're always together in January.
That's not intentional.
No, it's not. We're always together in January or like summer. And then early fall, normally around like September, October. Like, but literally we have memories from like these exact days this time, like 2 years ago, whenever I was staying with you in Nashville. Mm-hmm. So crazy.
Yeah. And like even just lining up with like the things we were doing.
I know. Isn't it weird?
Very weird.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For those of you that are watching my YouTube, if that was just a weird moment, it's because I don't want to edit this video. And so I had to pause it for a second and I don't know how to edit it.
Oh man.
I'm trying to give producer Caleb a break here for a minute, okay?
We love you, Lou.
We do. But I just feel like it's unnecessary to edit this Zoom video. That just seems stupid. No. So we're just gonna do our best to keep rolling and not make any mistakes.
Hell
so
yeah,
don't say anything weird.
Literally never any promises on that one.
I know.
I embarrass myself every other minute.
Yeah. I mean, if I can like get it into my phone, I can edit it on InShot.
Yeah. Hey,
that's all I know how to do.
If I'm saying it on here, it's I guess it's going out. I promise I won't tell you guys.
It's like I will actually kill you.
Oh, not my morality.
It's that Enneagram 1 again.
It really is.
The anxiety. Terrible. But speaking of that, the last time Kara was with me, I had like very different things going on in my life.
Oof, yeah.
And we were talking about getting ready to go to the Taylor rave.
Yes,
so,
which
again,
oh my god,
parallels, but
so fun. That rave was incredible.
It was so fun until we could not get pizza after it.
Wait, we have to tell this story because it's so fucking funny. This is also one of those stories where it's like we've told it a million times and like we think we're a lot funnier than probably anybody else thinks that we are.
Truly.
But like in the moment, so we went to this Taylor rave and let me tell you, like honestly, one of the best nights ever. Like so
I think we explained the whole concept of it beforehand.
Yes, so incredibly fun. And so we get home. We're both like pretty hammered.
I was drunk.
Like I was hammered.
Yeah.
And I was definitely more drunk than you
were. I was. Well, I drink more.
Yeah. I'm a lightweight though. Let's be real.
But I was drunk.
And so we get home. We're like pizza. We need the pizza. And so Kylie calls what Domino's?
I think there was all those open. It was like 2 a.m.
Okay. So Kylie calls the pizza. And so just let us know what happens with the pizza, man.
So we order this pizza and I have the thing, by the way, if you don't know this, pro and con, I'm about to share with you, but you can silence unknown numbers that call you. So basically it'll still ring through, but it just like doesn't fuck up your notifications if you're in the middle of doing something like, and my number has gotten out to scammers somehow. I think actually back when I started Kylie Uplifts, I had my number public is why.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like even though I've taken it down, once it's out there, it's out there.
It's out there.
And so I get like, I am not exaggerating. I get at minimum 20 calls a day.
Same.
It's really bad.
It's so annoying.
I would be like, especially when you're trying to like record content and do shit like that, it'll stop it. Or like voice memo clients on WhatsApp, it cuts it off. And so like, I just got so sick of it. And then someone showed me in your settings, you can literally just silence them. So it won't interrupt your stuff. It shows up at the top of your screen. So if you want to answer it, you still can, but it doesn't disrupt your time. Right. But it also doesn't ring through. So Domino's pizza guy, unknown number. But we are waiting for it. So I see it, even drunk. I see it within literally like a minute and a half.
A minute.
I called him back 2 minutes later. Doesn't answer me.
This guy sped away as quick as he could.
So he was calling because the complex I lived at had a gate. So he needed the gate code.
Yeah.
And doesn't answer. I'm calling him back like a bunch of times. I'm like, this has to be the pizza guy.
Yeah.
And doesn't answer. So I call Domino's and I'm like, hey, I think your pizza guy is lost or something like that. And she goes, oh, he just let us know that he went there and no one answered. And I was like, I could send you a picture. I literally called this man back in 2 minutes. Like that man, I don't even think he hit the brakes at the gate. I think he did a drive-by. I think he was going to toss the pizza out the window if I came out there. Like I was like,
he wasn't even planning to stop. He actually just wanted the pizza for himself.
I literally was like, It's actually, you can't, like, if you can't get in the gate, you can't just turn around. He had to back out. So I'm like, it would have, there's no way you can even get out in 2 minutes. No. He committed to not giving us the pizza. 1,000%, I swear to God. 1,000%. You're on my shit list, that guy, forever. I will find you.
And Kylie's on the phone with this lady.
And I'm like, okay, so what do I do now? And she was like, well, he has to bring it back here, so you can just come pick it up if you want. And so, well, first I was just like, can you just get a hold of him and ask him to like turn around? Like, he couldn't have gotten that far if he still has it.
He's like 2 seconds.
So she goes, hold on. So she hangs up actually and calls me back, and she's like, he's not answering. And I was like, this classic. I was like, he's definitely eating the pizza.
Yeah.
Like, it's so 100%. But she was like, she calls me back, like tells me this.
She was a real one.
She was nice. I was not being a bitch to her, by the way. I was just very depressed.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so now what? She's like, well, you can come here and get it if you want. And I was like, ma'am, do you think, just for a second, that if I am ordering a pizza to be delivered to me at 2:30 in the morning, that I am capable of operating a vehicle to go get it? And she just is like dead silent. She was like, no, ma'am, I do not. I said, so what do I do? She was like, she's like, I'm so sorry. Obviously we'll refund you. It's not your fault. And then I was like,
didn't she say to call back tomorrow?
Yeah. So first she's like, we can refund you. And I was like, okay, but like, I am hungry.
Like, how's that gonna help me?
There's the bark. That was it.
That is actually the bark.
So she goes, I'm hungry. And she was like, I'm so sorry. I tell you what, she's like, you come by here tomorrow or call here tomorrow. My name is whatever it was. And she was like, I will get you a free pizza. And I was like, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. I was like, but I'm hungry like right now.
Yeah.
And she was like, I know, I'm so sorry. There's just like nothing else we can do. We're closing. We don't have any more drivers that can go out. Cause I was like, can I just place a new pizza order? And she was like, that was our last like run of the night, like whatever. And I was just like,
we're shit out of luck. Right. And everywhere else is closed now.
Everywhere's closed. And so, because by the time we now have waited, it's like literally almost 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, all right, so we give up on this, but we're still starving. And
so I have this beautiful idea. I'm like, I'm feeding it in Kylie's cabinets and refrigerator. And I open her freezer and I see Texas cheesy toast. And I'm like, all right, we can make this work. There's tomato pizza sauce in the fridge. I'm like, why don't we just make the cheesy toast and dip the cheesy toast in the pizza sauce? Boom, pizza. There we go.
I have an air fryer.
Yeah, kind of like the same concept, right? So
no,
I get now. Also, I'm watching myself on this YouTube video and it looks like I don't have pants on. I promise I do. I have shorts. So I get this Texas cheesy toast out, put it in the air fryer, and we're like waiting. It seems like forever for this cheesy toast to be done.
To be like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I keep checking it. I'm like, Kylie, I don't think that this is getting done, because whenever like you can see that it's done, you'll see the cheese kind of like browning on the top, and nothing was getting like brown on the top. And I was like, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, and then I like pick up the cheesy toast and I'm like, oh, I put it face down. So all the cheese is just crusted to the bottom of the air fryer. So now we don't have the cheesy toast. It's just toast.
Just toast. It took all the good shit off.
And it was just so fucking funny in the moment, because I was like, we missed our pizza chance and now I've ruined our Texas cheesy toast for being a dumbass.
It was a hard time.
Honestly,
it was a rough ending to a beautiful evening, but now we look back and laugh.
Yeah, it was a great story. I mean, it still slapped, honestly, because like Texas cheesy toast is still good. It's just good. Like garlic toast.
Regular Texas toast, but it was just like, it sucked because it just also pulled off like and then I had to like scrape the air fryer the next day. It was a whole thing. But
the air fryer was crusted in cheese.
We definitely find that story funnier than most people, I'm sure. But you had to be there.
You always have to be there. Let's be real.
That's 90% of Kara and I's story. We think we are the funniest people on the planet. Like no one laughs at us as much as we laugh at us. Like I am honestly, you would be appalled at how often we just rewatch the videos we make of ourselves.
How many times did we watch our close friend story this week? Fucking dying.
The narcissism is real, and that.
And like, it really is. And like, I'm so mad at us because I feel like there are so many things that we've cracked the fuck up about this week that I meant to put in like notes to talk about. And the vape one really got me though. I'm not gonna lie. Also, how about the submarine man that's lost in the ocean?
We're not going down this rabbit hole right now.
We can't. Fucking wild.
Kara is deep in Ocean Gate. By the time this comes out, these people are definitely dead.
I'm deep in Ocean Gate TikTok. Yeah, it's sad, but I mean, hey, it's freaking wild, dude.
No women on that submarine.
People be wild.
Without you covering your
I need somewhere to put my leg right now. And every time I bring my knee up, it literally looks like a chicken drumstick. Look at it. It looks like a fucking fleshy, pale chicken drumstick. It's so ugly. God, I need to self-tan. It's June. It's summer now. I should be tan by now. I haven't had time to lay out. So here we are. Anyways.
I cannot. Anyways.
Oh, God.
Back to the Taylor Rave.
So back to Taylor Rave and why we are, getting into this.
So, last time she was there, obviously we were talking about my life has changed dramatically, but, Kara actually got to meet little buddy while she was here on that trip.
That was a journey in itself, man.
Yeah.
It was also just like, I will say that the first setting that I met him in, great. Second setting.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it.
Not so great.
She met him twice.
Yeah.
And the reason I decided to bring this up and talk about this is because I've had a lot of people asking me, because I have many of you that do follow my journey or my comedy journey, I have a bit about this whole thing, right? On the podcast, I've referenced him a couple times. I know Caleb and I have made, there's been just a lot of quick joke references to it, or little bits and pieces. And I've had some people actually ask me, they were like, what actually happened with this guy? Why was this a big deal? Or not the little buddy thing. It's actually the most validating thing that's ever happened to me is turning this into a stand-up joke. And quite literally every audience, when I say this, everyone's like, oh,
crack the fuck up.
It's literally a unanimous, oh.
The guy in the back of your Kill Tony interview, his reaction to it gets me every time.
Yeah. So my Kill Tony just debuted. And
everybody go watch
that joke is on there. And so I've had a lot of people being like, what is the little buddy story?
Yes.
Who is this guy?
Yes.
And so like I said, Justine and I on our episode talked a little bit more about I met him on Hinge and stuff like that.
Right.
I was like, this would be a good opportunity to kind of just spark notes to the best of my ability. We all know for me that still isn't going to include at least 4 behind the scenes features.
At least 4 detours as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did make notes for this for once in my life to try to keep myself on track. She's a comedy girly now.
She's becoming me. Yeah. Truly.
Well, I was just I'm doing my best to not.
You've been, you're good. You're doing good. And I do think that comedy has really helped you with this because 5-minute bit, that's not a lot of time.
For me, that's not time at all.
We got to condense.
I'm still setting a background for 5 minutes usually. So
literally.
Doing my best. But I was it's so much more fun for me to be able to have a dialogue about something. And I was I like it when it's someone who's involved, and Kara's always involved in all my bullshit. Is that TikTok my bullshit? Is your bullshit?
Your bullshit is my bullshit.
And that's just on being friends.
Sure.
But so she really was there for this whole journey, in a distance way, but then at kind of, it's
how it ended.
It's peak. Yeah. It's had a little bit of other chaotic things to follow, but really the week, everything shifted.
Yeah.
Kara was with me. So, and I was okay, this is a good time to tell the story.
Yeah.
So,
and it's so funny because of what I said about him on the previous podcast episode that I was on.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, because I do want to,
it's true.
I do want to solidify this, because I feel we talked about this on the podcast episode last time, because you're always trust Kara's intuition.
Yeah,
if she says something about someone, it's true. And I need to correct my mistake on the last podcast. But here's the thing.
I don't think you said the dating thing on the podcast. We just talked about it privately.
I thought I did.
We talked about how it felt I was in a healthier dynamic, and
I thought
I'm getting good vibes.
I thought on the podcast I said, I think you guys are going to go back and forth and end up in a relationship.
I don't know, because I don't think we talked about him in detail.
Okay, maybe not.
Because I was still keeping it pretty private since him and I
But then once I met him in person.
You did say that to me though.
Yes, I did. But then once I met him in person, I got the vibes. So.
Well, that's because based on you guys getting the retell of this, in my experience, I'm someone who I'm that girl that's the meme that's on your wedding day, I'm do you still like me? Are you sure?
Yeah.
That's me. I literally can never believe that someone is genuinely into me. 1, drama, but 2, anxiety. And so I when I tell you, I have never been so convinced that a man liked me in my life.
Truly.
The way this just threw me.
The way he really just whoop.
Honestly, going back and making these notes, there were signs.
Yeah.
There's always signs.
Yeah.
But it was things where it was again, my past mistakes, it was another lesson of letting my empathy and understanding getting the best of me in some ways. So we're just going to go on a journey. I literally have a note in my phone called Little Buddy Journey.
This is incredible. Not all of the bullet points. This is amazing.
So Story starts when it was summer, and
the story starts when it was summer.
It was not, but that was one of our surprise songs.
Yes.
For those
no, it wasn't. Oh yeah, it was. Oh my God.
The story of us. Okay, the story of me and little buddy. Actually, that's what I should call this episode, the story of us.
You absolutely should. And in parentheses, little buddy.
So I did meet this guy on Hinge, as me and Justine talked about. Honestly, this was one of those weird things too. Like, I didn't talk about this, but I remember talking to you about this. Like, I'm a very, like, I'm an energy person as well. Yeah. I don't have good intuition about their bad vibes. I'm not going to pretend I have that. Or I just drastically ignore them. Yeah. But I am someone who, like,
wait,
what?
Before you keep going on this is going to drive me fucking
drastically
nuts. No.
Oh.
Isn't the story starts the beginning of Better Than Revenge? The story starts.
Yes, it is Better Than Revenge.
Oh, see, okay, that was going to drive me fucking insane.
I realized I messed it up right after it.
Am I a bigger Swiftie than Kylie? Somebody tell me. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, go.
The camera fan.
Keep going.
Fuck. Now I'm embarrassed.
You better keep this in, bitch. No,
okay. It still works though.
You know what's funny though is I always get the beginning of the story of us.
Yeah, because the story starts.
Yes. Okay, so
yeah,
that's all right.
Next chapter.
Next chapter.
That's the story of us. Anyways, I can still call it the story of us.
I can't believe you were gonna sit here and gaslight me like that. Oh, I see who my true friends are.
I learned from the best.
You actually did.
Unfortunately.
That was funny.
Anyways, so
back to little buddy.
So I like generally like you talked about. I've talked about this before. How like my attraction scale with people. Of course, we've talked about I do have like a type, but honestly, before Goodwill, that wasn't really my type. Like, and so, and I don't think it's like he set that. It's like I've always like been attracted to guys that have like the tattoos and all that kind of stuff. Like that's not new. Yeah, that's always. But like I think that I've before that I have had a lot of people that are different and stuff, and it just has. I've always said like if I would have seen Goodwill on a dating app, I would have swiped left. Yeah. Like, especially the way he looked like when we met. Mm-hmm. But like the energy he brought, it was the charisma, you know, it wasn't good. But like that kind of thing, it's like, I think you just like feel things like that with people and it's like, whatever. And me and my old roommate, Meg, we're talking about how you can get that sense sometimes. Like it's hard because sometimes that's what's hard about online dating is you don't have that. But then we're like, I think sometimes you can feel that even through an app. Yeah. And so that was I was always kind of like, I don't know. We used to talk about this and I was like, I don't really think so. But with him, I remember coming across his page and I think I sent him a like. I don't really remember which one was which, but yes, I did. Because so he showed up in my feed and it was one of those things where I saw it and I was like, okay. Yeah. But I was just like, it was like, not that he stood out, that he was like overly attractive. Like I was attracted to him. But a lot of stuff on his page, not super interesting. His profile was not exciting. Like, and I was just, but I was like, I'm gonna send him a like. And then I remember being like, for the next like 2 days, I would randomly think about it and just be like, I hope that guy matches with me. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. I never have that thought. Like, normally I like send a like and I don't think about it ever again. Like, it's just like, man, we'll see who's whatever. And I just like kept thinking that. And so then I matched with him, he messaged me and I remember like being excited. And we like talked back and forth for a couple days. It was very bland, like not much conversation, was like whatever, it was very basic. And then we didn't really talk much at all. And then randomly, just like one Saturday, we like messaged. He had like messaged me that night before, like 2 a.m. That's how this whole thing started, like on Hinge. And he was just like, I forget what he said, but he said something along the lines of just like talking about me being hot or something at like 2 a.m. And I was like, oh, this guy's drunk and trying to booty call someone. Whatever. And so the next day I was like, oh, was somebody drunk last night? Like whatever. And he was like, yeah, a little, and like just started like fucking smooth talking to me the whole day. We were talking back and forth, like blah, blah, blah. But then I found out he was like actually out of town the night before. So he wasn't trying to booty call me. He was like in Houston. But he was like drunk, just texting on his phone. And so we ended up talking through the day. And I actually had plans with Leb to go, producer Caleb, to go, we were like getting dinner and like going to go out in the Domain for a little bit. We had like already planned that. And this guy worked across from the Domain. And so we were talking and he like let me know that actually as I was talking about my plans. He was like, he's like, well, when I get off work, if you want to get a drink or anything after, let me know. And so I was like, okay, cool. Caleb was kind of like trying to go on a date too after we were basically pre-gaming our dates. Yep. So we were like, doing that and he ended up meeting up with us and I actually recruited, bless Caleb's soul, he was like late to his date or like put off his date to wait to make sure that I was like safe meeting this guy before he left. Yeah, he like stayed with me at the place and then like hung out with us for a little bit. And then we actually little buddy did come meet up with us. We hung out for a little bit. Caleb left for his date and we actually ended up leaving to go meet up with Caleb and his date as well. Like we ended up like having like a double date and so did that whole thing. And it was like fine. He showed up. It was like, nothing was awkward right away. We were like getting along, like blah, 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 but it was fine. Nothing like crazy. I didn't really have that immediate, like, oh, it's all nuts.
Yeah.
But I was like very attracted to him, like whatever.
I'm sorry, but I remember you sending me a picture of him and he looked exactly like Goodwill.
That one picture of him.
That one picture.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, he looks
red flag everywhere.
He looks like Goodwill and Lampshade had a baby.
Literally.
No, literally. Like, and I'm gonna call myself out. We all know too. I think part of this we've addressed in hindsight. Like, part of me got attached to this guy in general because I was really trying to get over Lampshade. It was a good distraction for me, but it was very much me like trying to like make Lampshade exist in someone else.
For sure.
Like, that's the reality of the situation. And anyways, that's the deep side of that. But we like went out, ended up going back, like, you know, we went and had a couple drinks, like one or two. It wasn't anything crazy. We didn't like go out and party. We go back to my place and I like invite him inside. And we like turn on Harry Potter, first of all, because we've talked about that a lot. This man had
that was a green flag from him.
Yeah, it was like a green flag. We come in, watch Harry Potter. We end up staying up. We get back to my place at like 1:30. We stay up just talking, like quite literally we haven't touched at all at this point, like not even like held hands, nothing. And we stayed up just talking till 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. And it was still just kind of like playful banter. Like, it wasn't anything like deep, but like we had like just good conversation going, whatever. And then we hooked up at like 6 a.m. And I wish I could talk more shit about this man, but I won't lie. It was some of the best sex I had at that point in my life.
Damn.
Especially like since I'd been single. So I was like, all right, he got me with the Harry Potter and the D. I was fucked, quite literally. And so I was like, okay. And it was one of those things where it was like, just immediately the sex was like very comfortable and like fun. And like, it was just like very like, we were like being silly, like, and just like bullying each other. Like, it was like a good like dynamic, like immediately. And so I was kind of like, okay, so definitely felt myself being like, whatever, blah, blah. But when we then like, we're kind of texting after this, up until over the next week, we had like been to the next weekend and we were basically, our texts were all just like casual and flirty and kind of sexual. Right. And then that next weekend, he was talking to me about, we both hadn't talked about like what we're looking for, because Justine and I talked about this in our episode. This man's profile is like looking for a long-term partner, a best friend, my person, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And so he was like, well, I kind of thought I wanted a relationship, but I don't think I'm ready, which like backstory, this guy got out of like a 7-year relationship at the same time I got out of my 5-year one with Goodwill. So like I got it, I had empathy, and like he had like 2 situationships in the time frame that he said like kind of weren't so good for him, like just like my thing with Lampshade. I was like, okay, I kind of had one of those too. So I felt like we were like on the same page and I like understood it, and he was like being open about it. Because remember, the irony of all this is through the whole first like 2 like month and a half, we were like praising the way this man was, we were communicating, which is wild now. But so crazy. We were like having this back and forth, and he basically tells me that he's just like, I thought maybe I was ready, but I think I'm not sure. Like, he's like, I kind of just wanted something more casual right now, but he's like, but I'm not opposed to like if I feel that vibe with someone. And I was like, oh, I was like, honestly, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I was like, the idea of partnership sounds great to me, but I was like, I don't know if emotionally I'm there. I'm still trying to get over someone. Lampshade. And I was like, I'm not trying to shut down the openness to like if I vibe with someone as well. And so I was like, but I said to him, I said, I'm going to be clear though, I'm not looking for just like a fuck buddy. Like, I don't really want a booty call. Like, I was like, I at this point too was like really trying to get out and do more stuff in Austin. So I was like, I still want someone that wants to like go out and do stuff, like go have like dinners and go explore bars and like stuff like that. And I was like, I don't want to just be like the person you hang out with at 1 a.m. Like, I was like, I've done that in my life. I was like, I've done that. It's fine. It's just not where I'm at. And he was like, no, for sure. Like, he's like, he had like only lived here for the past like year or something. He's like, there's still so much of Austin I want to see, and So I was like, cool, same page. So later that night, he comes over when he gets off work. We like have another movie night. We like keep watching the Harry Potter series again, up till fucking 5 a.m. again, just talking, hanging out. We hook up again, whatever, blah, blah. So after that, I leave and go to Christmas. Like I spent a week of Christmas. It's not actual Christmas, but I spent a week with my family in Houston. We barely talk up until he finally texts me like 6 days into my trip or something. Like, he hadn't responded to something I sent him. It was just like a funny thing. And that was like one of the first flags. I was just like, but the thing is, whenever he texted me, he was like, oh, you seem like you're being short, and like caught that like right away. And I was like, well, to be honest with you, inconsistency is just like very unattractive to me. Because I remember this is like there was a lot of pivotal moments of me starting to stand my ground. He had the lesson, I think, for me that I needed. And he calls me and he was just like, I'm so sorry. I totally get that. Like, blah, blah, blah. We have a conversation, plans a date with me for when I'm back. So I'm like, okay, he course corrected, whatever. Tells me about this like Harry Potter speakeasy he wants to take me to, blah, 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 blah. So I come back. This whole thing happens basically where like that date doesn't happen, but he still comes over. Like he was like, honestly, this would turn out to be a fucking consistent thing, as you know. He's like, I have a sore throat.
I remember that, but he still came over.
Yes. He like changed the plan, but he was like, if you don't want to, he was like, if you don't want to hang out anymore because we can't go out, he's like, I totally understand that. We can reschedule. He's like, I would still like to see you. Yeah. He was like, I'm just like, not sure I'm feeling up to like being in a crowd and stuff today. Like he had been like dealing with allergies. This man was always fucking sick. So
always sick. God.
The way that this became such
it was unreal.
Yeah. So he literally was like, he's like, I'll still come over. He was like messaging me. And I was kind of like, I have trauma from men doing this kind of shit. So I like was kind of short with him again. Yeah. And he like noticed it right away. So again, I liked that he was like being like perceptive of things. Yeah. And he was like, I feel like you're upset with me. Like, he's like, what do you want? I'll pick up like takeout. Like he picked up like my favorite wine, like literally picked up this wine that was like Kylie brand wine. Like comes over, like, yeah, like brings over takeout and wine, and we like watch Harry Potter again, and he meets Jazzy. Mm-hmm. We all like hang out. She got good vibes from him, and she's also a very intuitive person.
She is.
And so like we were all whatever. She was like, I like your dynamic together, the way you like share the space, like the way he treats you, like blah, blah, blah. She even said something to him about, because he was like teasing me about how he was like, well, Kylie was definitely pissed off at me today. And he was like, you're being a little crazy. And I was like, I was not being crazy. And him and Jasmine were both like, you were. And I was like, okay. And I was like, it's just that. And Jasmine literally is like, she has abandonment issues. And I was like, okay, we don't need to tell this man the third time. And he was like, he's like, I'm not abandoning you. Like, I would not do that. And so I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Liar. Lies. So we end up hanging out, same thing. We like hook up, blah, 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 blah. So I go, then we hang out. I go back to my family for Christmas or whatever. And that's like the first time at this point too, like our text interactions and stuff are still pretty, like everything's pretty surface level, which is fine. I'm actually like happy with the dynamic, what's happening, blah, blah, blah. Well, over Christmas weekend, he gets like super vulnerable with me. If you remember, he starts texting me and stuff, tells me it's like his first fully single Christmas since his long-term relationship, which by the way, this man fully blames himself, as he should, for what happened with his ex. He's clearly not over it. He's like expressed that to me. Other than red flag I probably should have been aware of. But he's like getting super open with me about like how hard like the holiday was and stuff like that. And so we share this thing and like we start talking, and he tells me basically like, hey, if things don't work out with us or like we don't go anywhere, he's like, I do view you as like a friend as well. Like it's not just about sex. We can hang out.
This is foreshadowing to little buddy.
Truly. He was like, we can hang out and not have sex sometimes too, like blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I just don't want you to feel like used and all this stuff, which like was nice.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, not really reading into that. And I was like, okay, that's whatever. And he's like, if this ever doesn't like work out, he's like, I still really want, he's like, I would like to still like have you in my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Like, I mean, again, at this point we've hung out like 3 times, but I was like, okay, so he clearly feels like a vibe as well. Some kind of vibe, like really cares about me. So we have all these conversations. I immediately leave after Christmas and go to Nashville for New Year's. And I was there for like a week per usual. And this man was texting me like every day. And when he would get off work at nights, like he would like, I was like usually asleep, but he would try to call me on his like way home from work. And I would like text him in the morning and be like, oh, were you drunk? I'm trying to do something. He's like, no, I was just driving home and thinking about you. I just wanted to talk. Like, call and see how your day was. Like, this is the interactions I'm getting like the whole time I'm there. And so I'm starting to be like, I'm like starting to like catch feelings for this guy, right? And because I'm like, okay, like da 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 da. And I've been very forward with him, because I did notice that while that was happening though, he was being much less like flirty.
Yeah.
And so I was like, am I just in my head? Is this bothering me? Blah blah blah. Because then he also tells me during this, because as a side note, early on when we were being casual, we were trying to be like genuinely casual. Like he would tell me about girls he had hooked up with like a few weeks prior. And honestly, we kind of used it in like a hot way.
Yeah.
And I was like fine with it. Yeah. But that's why I didn't have like any feelings. And so then like, I was like, I never set that boundary. So he didn't do anything wrong, but he had basically messaged me about some girl's number he got at work. And I was kind of like,
I remember
this. I was like, I don't like that. So again, flags, but like, and I ended up telling him, again, proud of me. Yeah. I was like, hey, you could still do whatever you want. We're not exclusive and like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I feel a little bit, I'm still like sexually interested in you. And it makes me feel a little bit like friend zoned when you're like cause he was telling me that this girl like shut him down. He was like complaining to me about it. It wasn't even like in a sexy way. Like, even if it still would have bothered me, I would have got it. If he was like, oh, I got another hot story for you. But he was like venting to me about this girl not texting him.
Yeah, which is
and
weird.
I was like,
it's very weird.
Yeah, and so I was like, I don't really like that. It makes me feel like too much of your friend. And if that's like the vibes you're feeling, just tell me.
Yeah.
I said this then.
Yep.
And he's like,
just be upfront.
And he was like, no, that's not it. Like he was like, I'm sorry to make you feel that way, and blah blah blah. He's like, I never would want. He's like, you have absolutely nothing to be insecure about. Like blah blah blah. And he was like, So. But I noticed after that too, like he's still like texting me normal, was still like sending me selfies and all this shit.
Yeah.
And then he was like,
not the selfies,
not his fucking shirtless mirror selfies.
Not from up above with the abs.
He didn't do that. But
thank God.
Yeah, he was still sending me like, shit like that. But he was just like not in that, like the moment that like bothered me, I was getting ready to go out for New Year's and I just like did not want to have a bad night thinking about this shit. And so like I had told him, like, again, this man normally, like I could send him a picture of me in like workout gear and he would be like, hot, those white leggings make me want to fuck you. Like it was like, this is how this guy was like. And I was like, what? Like he literally was like, the color white turns me on. Like it was like, what? Like it was like that, like it was like everything
aggressive.
Like literally I remember texting him back and being like, everything turns you on. Like that's what this guy was.
Yeah.
And so I sent him that picture of that dress I have that like crisscrosses across my tits. Like that dress is hot as fuck.
It is.
And I was like, wait till you see what I'm wearing for New Year's, like whatever. And he was just like, he's like, oh, why? And I was like, obviously, because it's hot, you fucking idiot.
Right.
So then he was like, oh, okay. And so then I sent it to him and he just says, you look great.
Yeah.
And
that's
I was like,
the moment where things.
And I was like, okay, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Here? So I was just direct, because one thing about me is I hid my feelings for way too fucking long. And now every man who's dated me has to suffer the consequences, because I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I have to just ask you something. And he was like, sure, what's up? And I was just like, I'm noticing a shift. Like you're just being less like flirty and stuff with me. And I was like, which is great. I like talking to you about other things. Like, I was like, but did something change? Like between us, like, are you not really interested like sexually or like whatever anymore? And he was like, oh my God, absolutely not. I've just been like really in a funk this week since Christmas. Like, which I was like, okay. Like, he was like, I've been sad, honestly. He's like, I haven't.
But I'm sorry. Can I just interject here? Like, when somebody feels a certain way for you and like whenever you like bring them happiness and they want to talk to you and everything like that, I'm sorry, but like men using the whole like, oh, I'm just in a funk. I'm just like, you don't normally like even when I'm in like a upset mood or whatever it may be, or maybe in not the best mood, like I'm not texting Kevin like differently, you know what I mean? Or like I'm not texting like friends differently or people differently. Like I'm still, you know what I mean? I think that's just a bullshit.
No, it's an excuse.
Absolutely.
And it's also like annoying because it's just a way to like either keep, it's one of two things. They either want to keep you on the line still just in case.
Literally, as we're going back through this, it's literally him just still continuing to keep you there.
Yep.
But like
or being
slowly, yes, exactly. Which both for sure. But like then slowly like backing away.
Yeah, rather than just at the moment being like, yeah, I'm not feeling it or whatever the fuck was going on.
Because he knows that he can keep you there and probably have sex with you again at some point.
Which like honestly though, it didn't even seem like that was his objective. So I don't know what the fuck his deal was.
Yeah, it was
like
weird.
So anyways, he tells me then he's like, no, I've just been like in a funk. Like he's like, I think something's wrong with me. Like I feel like I've been depressed. Like I haven't even been masturbating. He tells me like da. And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
whatever. So we go out, but then like, so he had told me that I had told him when we had that conversation about the girl and all that stuff, that I was like, I just don't really want to hear about that kind of stuff. Like personally right now, I was like, you can still do it. I was like, I actually just don't want to engage in it. And he was like, okay. And so he had told me how he had planned, like I asked him if he ended up, because originally, by the way, right before I left for Nashville, he had asked me if he could join me for whatever New Year's plans I had.
That, yeah.
So he also asked for that. And then I was like, oh, I'm out of town. And he was like, oh, I forgot. Sorry. So then I asked him that day, I was just like, hey, did you end up finding anything to do for New Year's? And he's like, oh, he's like, somebody asked me to get drinks, so I'm going to do that. And he was like super vague. And so I was like, it's a girl for sure. And so but I didn't ask. I was like, I walked myself into that, whatever. I knew it. So I didn't say anything. I was like, cool. He's respecting my wish to not bring it up. Yeah. Whatever. But then that night I'm out with my friends and I'm just like, I'm having a good time. I'm partying and I don't text him. I'm not talking to him, nothing at all. So he texts me right after midnight and is like, Happy New Year's. And I didn't text him back for like an hour and a half because I was fucked up. And I texted him back and I was like, oh, thanks, you too. And then he was just like, I'm surprised you haven't been blowing my phone up. And I was like,
oh my God,
literally.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, I could pull up the text. Yeah. And I was like, why?
Okay, that's also like so fucking insulting. Like, do you actually think I'm just sitting here being like,
fucking bothered him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was like, I was like, no, I've just been out having a good time.
Yeah.
I'm not really been on my phone.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh, he's like, you should be proud of me. I'm at home in bed with food in my pajamas already. And it's like 1 o'clock. And it's like, he like wanted me to know that he went home alone. Like, that's how we all interpreted it. Cause it's like, like he was like making a huge deal out of it. And he like sends me a fucking picture.
Dude.
And I was like, cool, hope you have fun, like whatever. And he was just like, yeah, what are you doing? Like asking me all these questions, like da-da-da. And I was just like, what the fuck, dude? So I stay out, blah, blah, blah. And we go through this whole thing and it's just like weird.